way. Okay. Let's say they're going to play a game. We got there's 4 stocks, and you have to decide how much to invest in the 4 stocks. But here's what you know. It's a two-player game. You versus somebody else. The winner of the game would win $1. The loser of the game would get 0, and if there's a tie, you split the $1. Okay. Here's how the stocks would work. One of them is going to double. 3 of them are going to 0. And my question is, it's just hypothetical. The question is how much would you invest in these 4 stocks? So Hunter, go ahead.
I'd invest like if I had $100, I'd go 50 in the one I think most, and then I'd go like 30 or whatever, 1/3.
You don't. The stocks are masked. You don't know what
yeah,
you don't know what the companies are.
Yeah.
So say it was the 4 letters of risk, I'd put $50 in I, and then put 1/3 in each of the other.
And the other 3. Okay. Tyler.
I would even it out.
You would go even out, so 25% in each one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd split it between 3 and have one not do anything, because there's a low chance that it's just that one.
Okay.
That's what I said.
I just go all
I just
in
go all
one.
100 on one.
You put all 100 on one. I love this. We're getting quite a range of answers. Any
I
other?
would invest in another.
Go ahead.
I put 51 in another in I, and then I put 49 in a different one. So I'm closest to breaking even, and I gained some money too.
Okay. Any other strategies that people would take for this? So and this is a heads up game. You versus one opponent.
Oh, don't spend anything.
Don't spend it. Don't invest anything at all. Strategy.
I was gonna say doing someone in like 10 in each one and then leave 60. Just wipe out the other guy. Just like.
Wait, so is the competition who can make the most money?
That's the goal. Whoever makes the most. But if it's a tie, you would split the $1.
Then I would invest. Because it's $1.
You would do nothing. Okay.
It's $1.
Okay. So that is. So you would do nothing, but there's a possibility if the other person invests that they would, but for example, if you were going against Shane, who puts all his money in one, there is some chance, 25% chance, that he would double his money and he would win the game, right? So there's a 25% chance he would win, but there's a 75% chance you would win. So you like those odds better. Yeah. Okay. So the 2 variations on that question. One of them is, what if you? I like the answer where I would do nothing, because that is a choice. But I could always say, well, assume that you must put all your money, all your capital at risk. How would you invest it? I think that was most of your answers were. This is kind of a question that I will let you. I'm not going to say anything about it. This is one I'm going to let you guys think about after the class. I'm going to give you another question. That is. Will feel kind of similar in a way. So everybody here knows what a roulette wheel is.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So does anybody describe a roulette wheel to me? What's on the wheel?
A bunch of numbers.
Okay. How many numbers?
36.
36. There's 30.
Almost 38. Because of the 2 zeros.
There's right. Depends if you're in Europe or America. Yeah.
Wait, that's the stuff you gamble with, right? You like spin the wheel and if it lands on red, then you win.
That's a roulette wheel. Yeah. So a roulette wheel has 36 numbers, numbered 1 to 36. If it's a European wheel, it has a 1-0 on it. That is green. If it's an American wheel, it usually has 2 zeros, a 0 and a 00, 2 greens. So here's another question. You magically get $1 million. And the condition of the $1 million is you must put all $1 million in play in a game of roulette on a European wheel. So that the European wheel has the 37 numbers. 36, 1 to 36. Those are split evenly between red and black, and then the one green, which is a 0.
Is that like a jackpot one or something?
Well, so here's how it works. These are the kinds of bets you can make in roulette. You can bet on all the reds. You can bet on all the blacks. You can bet on any individual number. If you bet on any individual number, you get paid 35 to 1.
No.
Come on. So for example, if you put your money on a 7 and it comes up 7, you would get paid 35 to 1 on the 7. So if you bet $1, you would make $35 on that bet. You get paid 35 to 1. And if you, for example, if you covered all the red and it came up red, you would double your money. First of all, if let's say you covered all the red on this wheel, what's your chance of winning the bet?
50%, or would it be less because of that green?
It would be less because of the green, right? Yeah. So it would be 18 out of not 36, but out of 37. You'd have 18 out of 37, so slightly worse than chance.
49.
A little bit less, maybe like 47-ish. So, okay. All right, now. So here's my question: how would you? You got $1 million. What do you do with the money?
Not gamble.
Go ahead first.
I have to.
Put all the money on blacks, spread them out equally, because technically there's like 20, or just call it like 18 blacks, 17 blacks,
Yep, 18 blacks.
18 blacks. So it's like rods are one. To hit the one black, it's 1 in 18 out of 1 to 18, or 1 in 37, and basically half of those are black. So it's, instead of putting all your money on black, you put all your money on the other black, so you get 35 to 1.
Make the bet. You want to bet on the 18 individual numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. 18 individual numbers. Go ahead.
I mean, if you want to retain.
I think you can't. I don't know if you can. Let's make it so that the bets are black, red, or individual number. Those are your choices: black, red, or individual number.
What about green?
You just want to bet black, and you get okay.
I think if you want to like have the highest odds to retain the most of your money, put an even amount on every single one.
Bro,
and
I'm
then
thinking the same
like,
thing as this guy.
Like 2 out of 2/37ths of the million, and come away with like
Exactly.
150,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So you.
Can you even do that?
Just take your.
Yeah, so that's just called like what's called a max min strategy, where you maximize your worst scenario. Okay, you maximize kind of thing. Okay, so just the question. Oh, now I want to go back one more time. I'm gonna go back to the first question, the 4 stocks. Before you were playing A versus B, like just you versus one other person. Now I'm gonna change the rule. 100 people are going to play the game, and if you win or tie, you get 50 cents. If you win, you get $1. If you tie, you get 50 cents. If you lose, you get nothing. Would you change your strategy if there was 100 people playing that game?
No.
Yes. What?
Yes.
Would you still win the same amount of money?
I would just bet it on like every odd number.
Oh, you're talking about the roulette wheel.
Oh wait.
Well, I went back to the stocks example.
The 4 stocks?
Yeah.
Oh, I would still do
Okay.
split it in 3.
Well, if there's 100 people, you have to just go 100 on one, because like someone's gonna have more than you if you put like 25 on each or do anything else. So you just gotta go for the max and just go for it if there's 100 people.
Yeah, I think that one is the most clear. That's the most clear decision. Is that you have no chance of winning if you do anything except for go all in on one, right?
Yeah.
When 100 people. But see how your answer changes if you're just one versus the other, or one versus 99 people, right? So your strategy changes depending on how much risk you take is changing depending on the goal of what you're trying to do and how the rules are sort of set up. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to hop in here and we're gonna come back. You guys are gonna get a chance to do some investing. You're gonna see how some interesting things work here. But this lesson is really all about risk and how to think about different forms of risk. And this comes up in, it's not just investing, but it comes up in, as we're gonna see, even in sports, right? So, if we remember, if we go back to the last, if we just recall the last lesson, we made those portfolios, and then we saw like every 3 years we would reveal the returns, and you guys could change how much you invested in each stock, and then we look at the performance. I don't know if you remember, but there was that one dummy portfolio that just did the most naive thing possible, which is it just put an equal amount in every single stock, right? And then at every 3 years, it just rebalanced to be equally weighted across all the investments again. That, if we go back to those results, and I don't have them on me right here, but if we go back to them, we'll call that the benchmark portfolio. That's just the dumb monkey portfolio, the monkey who just threw a dart at all the things and just said, I'm just going to do equal because I don't know anything. That portfolio beat 3 out of 5 this year, right? Only one person beat that. Only one team beat that portfolio. Okay? So did no research at all. It just guessed. It just was blindly picked, and that one won. This is like weirdly, it's kind of weirdly true that there are a lot of people that are professional investors that try to do better than the stock market, like just buying, say, the whole basket of all the stocks, which is, like a portfolio of like the S&P 500 or whatever. Most people who try to beat that actually fail at doing that. And so it's just kind of interesting how the same kind of thing happened here, where the stupid portfolio basically beats most of the teams, right? So the key about that portfolio is that it was totally balanced, right? Okay. There's another way of looking at the same idea, was that if we looked at the returns of the 15 stocks, the monkey portfolio beat 5 out of, if you just invested in the monkey portfolio, it actually did better over that period of time than 10 out of the 15 stocks. It outperformed 10 out of the 15 stocks individually as well. So it didn't just beat most of the teams, it actually beat most of the stocks as well, if you just invested in any one of the stocks. So just another way of kind of looking at it, but that was most of the stocks, if you had just concentrated your position, did not do as good as diversifying across everything. So just another thing to point that out. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. If you go back, the S&P, just so you know, the S&P 500 is roughly the 500 biggest companies in the United States. Okay, they rebalance it. I think they rebalance it a couple times a year. I can't remember if it's a couple times a year or once a year, but they rebalance it back to the way it's weighted is the biggest stocks get the biggest weights all the way down to like the 500th stock, right? So the interesting thing, if you go back, only about 1 in 6 of the companies lasted 50 years. So you think about all these companies, most of them disappear, right? So only 86 companies out of the original 500 exist today, and most of the companies that are in the basket get dropped eventually because they're no longer in the top 500 companies, right? So kind of says down here, the average lifespan of a company in the S&P 500 was 33 years in 1964. It's under 20 years today that they get shoved out. And I don't know, this says forecast 12 years. I don't know what that's about. Go ahead.
What is the S&P 500?
So the S&P 500 is like, it's an index of the 500 largest companies in the United States, right?
I think it's saying forecast 12 years by 2027.
By 12. Yeah, right. I don't. Yeah, I'm just like not sure where that forecast is
Per
coming from,
share.
but yeah. Okay.
Of all the 500 companies, 7.9.
Does that make sense? It's kind of like you think that these companies just like kind of last forever, but turns out it's actually pretty hard to survive, right?
Nokia.
Does anybody know ever even heard of these companies?
Yes, I
Nokia,
have.
of course.
Sears.
I've heard of Sears.
They're not all these, right? They're all gone. They're all gone, right? It's just like Blockbuster. Just like interesting facts about these things. Blockbuster turned down buying Netflix for $50 million. Blockbuster. Maybe they exist today in some. I don't know what they do now. But
Guys, Nokia's not gone.
obviously, very few people are carrying around a Nokia phone today, right?
Except that they were dropping it from.
I don't know if you guys know this. Kodak actually invented the digital camera.
Oh, that's what I.
And Kodak no longer exists today.
Wait, is that the thing where you like turn the thing and you just take the photo?
So that was not.
Oh, that where you like put.
That was not a digital camera.
Is it?
The digital camera. So digital cameras were everywhere in the early 2000s before smartphones came out. It was pretty common for people to have a digital camera, and then you would take a picture, and it would save your picture on a chip, like on a memory card. Right now, you have a phone that has all this memory on it. You can take all the pictures you want. But before 2000, you would take a picture with a camera, and then you have to go develop the film. Right, like you would have to you would get a roll of film, and you would go to a photo mat, and you would submit it, and they would be like, come back in 3 days, and you would get your roll of pictures. And it was clicking and putting film in the camera and all that stuff. Like my last year of college, I just have like 20 rolls of film from that year. But a year later, I had a digital camera. So that was like right at the change. Daniel, what's up?
Isn't Kodak like a clothing brand now, or like an outdoor clothing thing?
I don't know if I don't think it's this Kodak. Maybe there's another company with that word. Maybe you're thinking of Kodiak. And then Sears. This is a crazy one. So everybody now, you buy your stuff from Amazon, right? Sears was 1% of the U.S. economy in the mid '60s. Okay, it was like the original Amazon, bankrupt in 2018. So the idea that like Amazon is it going to live forever? I don't know if it's going to live forever. We all thought all these companies were going to live forever.
If you go bankrupt, does that mean like all your stores come down? Because like there's still Sears next to the Sun Valley Mall.
Yeah, it goes into it doesn't mean that you just disappear off the face of the earth, but the details of it are get more complicated than that. But your stock is basically wiped out. Like if you own the shares, they're basically wiped out. But there's still assets to the company, and it may still be able to run, but the equity owners will all get wiped out. Okay, so this is all just a reminder. These companies don't last forever. So if you picked one of these companies and had all your money in it, or what more scary is sometimes people will work for a company and all of their bonuses are paid in that company's stock. And if they never had diversified out of that stock, they would have watched all their savings get wiped out if it was in one of these companies. This has happened like sort of famously in some companies. Have you ever heard of a company called Enron? That happened in a company called Enron. Was a big energy company and the cover of Time magazine and this big darling, and it turned out to be a big fraud. And people were being paid in the company's stock, and then the stock got zeroed, and all these people basically discovered that all the money they thought they had made over the years basically wiped out. So it was a super sad story, and it was fraudulent. But again, one of the top companies in the world at the time, and disappeared, which is really kind of pointing to the fact that there's a lot of extremely specific risks in an individual company, which is why we do think about spreading our bets and diversifying our bets. So this is kind of saying the same thing. This is a reminder that the basket of like the S&P 500, it automatically updates every year to take the biggest, to puts the biggest companies in, and takes the ones that fall off the bottom, it kicks them out. So it's like a built-in get rid of the things that are dying and add the things that are growing. It's automatically in the recipe for how that's built. So that's one of the reasons it's actually very difficult to beat it, because it's not just actually throwing darts. It's saying we're just going to take the biggest companies, and the biggest companies are oftentimes the ones that are growing, and then once they start to look really bad, or they start to look like Sears, they're like, we'll see you later, and they kick it out. And that's why that particular recipe is actually just really hard to beat. But the point of it is that it's diversified and it owns 500 companies, right? Okay. Which brings me to two very important kinds of risk. We have what's called diversifiable risk, and we have what's called systematic risk. So diversifiable risk is the company specific stuff. Like if you own Sears, you're just exposed to this one company. You're exposed to its bosses, you're exposed to its one business, and you're under threat of other companies, right? You have very specific company risk. If you invest in all the stocks, all 500 stocks, what are your risks? What is the risk that you have remaining?
Oh, like biodiversity.
Like biodiversity?
Yeah.
That, I don't know, it's a risk.
No, because
But
you're
you're-
not like an ecosystem.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
what?
there's
Actually,
that in
it is a
science.
good it actually is a good analogy, right?
Food web.
Like the biodiversity keeps things. It does.
We should replica
It creates a healthier ecosystem, right? Here, if you had, what's a systematic risk that would be a risk to all stocks, to everything going down at the same time?
COVID.
COVID is a really good example. Yeah.
Straight of Hormuz closing.
Straight at Hormuz closing. That was a very recent example, right? In my lifetime, we had the 2008, the entire market crashed because of a large banking and credit crisis. So, if you think about something like a banking crisis, a banking crisis happens because there's a contagious thing going on, which is I borrowed money from you, I lent it to somebody else, but now I don't think you're going to pay me. I don't think you have the money to pay me, and so if I don't think you have the money to pay me, I have to turn to the person that I might have lent money to and say, I need you to give me my money back because I need money to live. And what happens is this is cascades. Everybody is looking at everybody else and says, I don't think that person's going to be able to pay me. I got to ask this person for money, and then it just keeps going all the way down, right? So it's like a spiraling effect. That is systematic risk. That's going to affect, it doesn't matter whether you sell shoes or whether you sell video games. Everybody is affected by the fact that if you cannot borrow money from anybody, you may not be able to run your business. This affects all companies, and that's why you hear about things like recessions and depressions. That risk you can get rid of. Like if you buy the 500 stocks, and the look, even if Elon Musk has a heart attack and dies, Tesla is a small percentage. At the end of the day, out of 500 stocks, Tesla's a couple percent. If let's say Tesla's 3% of the index. If something happens to Elon and the stock of Tesla goes down by a half, how much did it affect your portfolio?
Like
Half.
1.5%.
1.5%. You lost 1.5%. If you had half your money in Tesla, how much money did you just lose of all your money?
50%.
Or 25%.
25%, right? So you can get rid of that risk by just spreading your bets.
Biodiversity.
You cannot get rid of this risk. There is nothing you can do about systematic risk. If there is some set of factors that affects all companies, there's nothing you can do to get rid of that. Okay, so these are the two big risks to sort of just have in your mind as categories. Okay, this is an interesting fact. in good years, stocks move they're sort of like, we say they're not necessarily correlated. They kind of all move around in different ways. There's a big range. Some go up a whole lot, kind of like our game, where the market went up over the course of our game, and some stocks went up a lot, and some of them went up only a little bit or even lost. In down years, it's kind of strange, but like all the companies tend to go down at the same time. Which is they act very different in down years versus up years. What's up, Tyler?
What is 2026 so far?
What is
the year to date?
2026 year to date, I am going to guess is up 3%. That's my guess.
So not great, but still pretty.
Yeah, it's only been a couple months. Now it was down probably 5 or 6% maybe at the low. So it's come back a lot. And again, when we say how much is it up, how much is it down, people are usually referring to the S&P 500 as their benchmark for what that means, because there's not like one thing. That's usually what they're referring to. So anyway, in bad years, stocks all tend to move together. In good years, there's a lot more dispersion between the returns of the stocks. So this picture, this is an interesting one because it shows a lot of the things we just talked about in one picture. So what I did here was I looked at every year from the game that we played last time, and every dot is a different company. Oh, first of all, has anybody ever seen a plot like this? Like, does anybody have any idea what this thing is called?
A diagram.
Box plot.
This is a box plot. Anybody else know? Or a whisker plot, right? It's kind of a.
dots, pretzels, maybe.
But it's a cool chart because what it's showing you is the ends show you the extremes. So that's the extreme range. So you can see that
That's the quantum.
how extreme the range was in 20. It looks like 20. I can't tell if it's 21 or 20 how it's lined up. The box shows you the 25th and the 75th percentile. Okay, everybody knows what a percentile is. It's kind of like if you rank things from 1 to 100, the thing that's the 25th would be the 25th percentile. The thing that's the 75th is the 75th percentile.
So just percent.
When you get your grades, or like when you take a test, sometimes you'll get something called a percentile. If you're in the 90, if you've got a great grades or a great test on something, like if you got a 1550 on your SATs, you would be in the 99th percentile, which means that you've done better than 99% of the people who took that test, right? So this is the 25th percentile is the bottom of the box. The 75th percentile is the top of the box.
What's Tesla?
So Tesla was the big winner in the game that we had played, and you can see that it had a monster year back in
They went from 100
It's Conquer.
That was the city.
So what I want to point out is a couple things. First of all, the orange line. The orange line was that benchmark portfolio. If you notice, it beats the average, so that solid line right there, that's the average in each year. Notice how the orange line beat the average almost every year, the monkey portfolio, how it wins almost every year.
Monkey.
Notice how wide the ranges are in these up years. But look what happened in the down year. The range tightened, and pretty much everything went down, right? Where you had like a lot more scatter in some of these other years.
During COVID.
This was actually in 2022. 2022 was a bad year for the stock market. COVID, actually the market ended up going up by the end of the year. So the two things to take away from this is just how everything co-moved together when we went down, and to also notice how that benchmark portfolio has been generally tough to beat. Actually, if you look at it's crazy right here. I mean, it beats every stock except Tesla in this year, right? So.
Wow.
Right?
It's pretty great.
Yeah, it because it was equal weight, so every stock had about 7. Well, it's more like a 5% weight because if you remember, it also held some cash. Tyler.
How much percent does the S&P 500 go up per year, like on average, from all the years?
on average, it's went up about in the ballpark of 9% per year, give or take about 15% per year. Right? Okay, so that picture kind of covers a lot of things. So it's something. Stocks aren't kind of talked here a little bit. We've talked about bonds, like lending money to people, and we've talked about stocks. But there's a lot of different things that people can invest in. So you can diversify using your stocks by owning lots of different stocks. But you can also diversify by owning things that are not stocks at all. For example, if you had bought oil futures, when all the stocks went down in March, but let's say you own half in stocks and you own half in oil futures, just say, you actually would have won, you actually would have made money because stocks were down, let's say the stocks were down 10%, but the oil futures were up 30%. So what would your net result have been?
20%.
Explain the math.
30 minus 10.
Come on, somebody explain the math. Oil's up 30%, stocks are down 10%. What's the net? What's your?
120%.
What?
It can't be 120%.
Times one. Not that lucky.
So
1.3 times 0.9.
well, okay.
3.
Well,
Half your portfolio went up 30%.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So-
you made 15% on that, right?
Yeah.
On your total portfolio?
15%,
So it's
and then you lost
10%.
5%, so 10%.
10%. So here's the thing: if you had bought all the stocks, you would have lost 10%. It doesn't matter if you diversified yours. Some of the stocks you would have owned would have lost a lot more than 10%, but on average you would have lost about 10%. But if you had bought stocks and oil, if you owned both, you actually would have made money in March. So the diversification would have helped you actually make money. But typically, do you make money owning oil futures? No, the price of oil has been, it fluctuates. In 2008, 2007, the price of oil hit $150. We are lower. The price of oil today is lower than it was at the height in 2007. So if you had just owned oil futures between now, from 2007 to now, you didn't make any money on your oil futures. But you made a bunch of money owning them last month. So it's interesting because over time, owning oil futures has cost you money, but there are times when sometimes it makes you money. So we're gonna understand that a lot better soon. But the point is that different assets move around at different times. This chart shows you different kinds of assets. So large cap, this is like the S&P, these orange boxes.
It's the index, right?
That's like the index. Then there's small cap, those are smaller stocks, okay?
2000.
International stocks. These are
Yeah.
risky bonds, high yield bonds, risky bonds. This is real estate. This red. This is emerging markets, so the companies like in South America.
What's AI?
This is safer bonds, and then this is just your savings account. What I want to point out here is how every year there's no one winner that's always winning every year. If you go through the boxes and look at them, you'll notice that in the mid 2000s, real estate won 4 out of 5 years. Was the top of the list. 4 out of 5 years in the early 2000s.
Cash sucks.
But look at real estate lately.
Cash is always above zero.
Cash is always above zero. That's a great observation. It's always been above zero, but it's usually the worst thing, or near the bottom, right?
Been zero a couple times.
So
Yeah.
this is this is this year, but at the time that I took this, so it's I don't know what I mean. But what's AA?
Large cap is the best.
So what's AA? AA is basically taking that's like the monkey portfolio. And if you look at AA, where is it? right about the, looks like it's kind of in the middle all the time. It's just a steady way for your money to grow is doing the diversifying, because any one of these other things, you have no idea actually where it's going to end up. However, usually with buying stocks, you make more money over time. So if you look at the large cap, it has been the best one in this sample. It's making 14% a year over this period of time. So it's the best one. It's also, it's not quite the best year. The small cap stocks had the best single year. But if you look at the losses, you also have the biggest losses from these companies. They're the most volatile, basically. And then this AA portfolio, it also has a pretty decent sized loss, but it's not quite as bad as the worst ones, right? And then you can see cash is kind of never really loses, but it's also its best is pretty pathetic.
How was
Okay.
cash the best 2 years?
What's that? So the cash does the best. So remember I said the whole market dropped in 2022?
That just means the market was really bad.
That's exactly what it means. It basically means, it means that this was a bad year to be invested in anything, right?
You just hold.
Yeah, because cash did better than owning anything.
What about 2018?
2018 was also a difficult year for the market
If you had
overall.
stocks, why don't you would just hold the stock, right?
You could just hold the stocks, and you don't have to sell your stocks when the market goes down at all. Like, you could just hold it, especially like you guys are going to be investing for a very, very long time. There's no reason to panic and sell your stocks, right? The only time it's a little scary, like I said, is if you have all your money in one stock and that stock turns out to be Kodak. Well, that can be kind of scary. But if you're diversified and you're 13 years old, there's no reason at all to sell your stocks basically ever, right? Okay. Okay.
Is today a bad
I've
day?
invested in 4.
No, we're up. It's up a little bit this year.
Is today a bad day?
Okay. Has anybody ever seen this picture before?
Yes.
Dang, everyone hates the wings.
What happened in?
Bro, what is it?
All right,
I've never
Ian. What happened in basketball in the last 20 years?
Less mid-range
Hold on, guys.
shots.
Look.
There's less mid-range shots. There's like more threes and a lot in the paint.
Yeah. There's only 2 shots that get taken in the NBA. They either take threes or they shoot from the paint, which is basically layups and dunks, right? This is layups and dunks, or take a 3. They don't take anything else anymore. Okay. This is what this is. I think what the chart is showing. Yeah, it's the top 200 shot locations on the court. This is how much the game has changed. Okay.
Wait, is the more red spots like the more popular ones?
Yeah.
Wait, what
Because
is
there's overlapping dots on those spots.
Why isn't like the one like really like behind the 2019? Because that's where Curry shoots from.
Where? Sorry, which one?
Like why isn't like or dot like behind the 2019? Like 'cause that's where like Curry shoots from, right?
Right here.
Way up.
I think they're like right there.
Oh. We're adding up all the shots of everybody in the NBA. He's still a minority of the shots, right, in the NBA. So, okay. Can anybody tell me what happened? What happened here? What happened? What did they figure out?
That
The
Curry's
game
too good.
like got a lot faster, and they figured out that like threes are really important. Kind of with like the 2010 Warriors, they like kind of changed the league.
That did change, but what did the 2010 Warriors figure out? Or what did they also weren't?
Like they spaced the floor.
Oh, go Isaac. Go ahead.
Mid-range is barely farther, or no, 3-point is barely farther than mid-range. So, and 3-point is 3 points instead of 2. So, you might as well just do that.
And then
Tyler.
They figured out that they should either take the hard 3 shot or get an easy 2.
I think the 2010 Warriors discovered something that everyone else has discovered before, and well, not really anyone has discovered before. Like you see there, that the 3. Wait. Yeah, the 3-point shot's worth more than the 2-point shot.
So this okay. So this is a very this,
Well, so it's like a 2-point shot from with your foot on the line is worth less than a 3-point shot. But it's like a foot difference or an inch difference.
okay.
So it's like might as well do the James Harden.
Zach, go ahead.
Why in the 2019 to 2020, why is the left corner foot on the line a popular shot?
I don't know that. Okay, so Liam, go ahead.
Like a mid-range shot, like is like worth the same as a close range shot. So they like said like, oh yeah, since a close range shot is worth the same as like a mid-range shot, why just take the close one?
Yeah, I think you Sky, go ahead.
It's better to take the risk of the 3-pointer than the 2-pointer.
Yeah. So you're all getting into the right place. Mathematically, how do you actually solve this? What is a good 3-point shooting percentage in the NBA?
45.
50 would be
100.
all time.
100. 40%.
For a three,
47%.
40%. So you said 50, right?
Kevon Looney's 100% in his career.
Who? Kevon Looney?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on a real sample size though. So go ahead.
What I don't know what the uptime is.
Oh, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
the password?
Oh, it's all one word. Come as you are.
What?
Yeah, like the song.
No cap.
Why does it keep changing?
COMEASYOUARE. So here's the math. You have a 40% chance of making a 3, right?
40%.
Okay.
40% for 3.
Okay. But let's say you have a 50% chance of making a 2. What is your expected value of how many points you get from taking a 3 versus taking a 2?
100%.
Well, you're
Well,
expected to
each
get 1
for each one.
point for a 2.
You're expected to make. Does everybody understand how Tyler did that?
1 to 2.
Yes.
Is that-
was
1
very
to 2
simple.
ratio.
How'd you do it?
Yeah. I mean, basically, you're gonna score 2 points every other shot, right? If you're 50-50, right? So your expected value is to make 1 point. But if you shoot 40% from 3, what's your expected value?
About 6
It's not the same.
1.2.
1.2. It's 40% times 3, right? You have a 40% chance of making 3 points. So the 3-pointer has. So what is? I mean, if you wanted to reduce basketball to an equation, what is it? It's your chance. It's your chance of scoring times the number of possessions that you get, right? That is basketball in a math formula. So basketball is about how many more possessions do you get than the other team times your scoring percentage, right? That's why turnovers are really important, right? Because you're really affecting that equation because every turnover you get is another possession for you and one less for the other team. And then your shooting percentage is the thing that then amplifies those possessions. That's basketball in math. So if you think about it, every possession, if you have a 1.2, if your average possession, you have a 1.2 points per possession over the course of a game, that's 20% more expected points than if you went for 2s all the time, right? So I think it's more of a mystery of why they didn't figure this out earlier. That's kind of what I think is interesting about it, is that basketball had been around a long time before they had kind of figured that out. So anyway, now the dominant strategy is I either take a dunk or a layup where my shooting percentage on a 2 has to be higher than 50%, right? Like I really, in order to make it make sense, otherwise I should go try to shoot a 3 with 4%. What's that?
In order to even it out.
60. 60, right? Because you need a 60% is that right? Did I watch it? Did I do that right? Yeah, 60% of 2 points. Yeah. So you need to be a 60% shooter from
Inside.
from inside, but you're not nobody's a 60% shooter from right there. But you are from here when you're laying it up or dunking, right?
Does no one drive baseline anymore?
Plus you have the chance. I think this is good. Plus you have the chance of getting fouled, right? So
Yeah, but no one
Okay.
takes free throws.
What is guaranteed?
so we kind of walked through there.
Lottery ticket, that's
We did the math of the 3-point versus 2-point.
Fantastic.
Okay. So if we go back to the beginning, the expected value math. Okay, remember the 4 stocks? Okay, you have a 25% chance. You had a 25% chance of doubling your money. If you have a 25% chance of doubling your money, what is your? If you bet $1 on something that has a 25% chance of doubling your money, or a 75% chance of going to 0, what is the expected value of your bet? If you bet $1, how much do you expect to return?
$1.
More than $1.
Quadruple.
Okay, I'll say it again. You have a 25% chance of doubling your money. Okay? You have a 75% chance of losing all your money. So, because I did it with 25%, let's imagine you played this game 4 times. What do you what on average do you expect to happen over the 4 times?
3 out of 4 times.
You would double once. Only one time will double.
One time you'll double. Okay.
And then the rest you lose.
Okay. So how much do you expect to have after playing this 4 times?
You would double negative $3. Wait. Negative $2.
Yeah.
If you do.
Negative
$2
every
No,
time.
you're absolutely right. Negative $2 divided by 4 times. So you've lost 50 cents per trial. So your expected return on playing a game like that
Is minus.
is that you're going to lose half your money on average on any one. Right. So obviously on any one trial you may lose all your money or you may double your money, but on average you expect to lose half your dollar every time you play that game. This is exactly what casinos do, right? Is they create games where the expected value of the game is positive for them and negative for you. On any one trial, you may win or lose and feel good or not, but if you play enough times, they're always going to come out ahead after a long enough period of time of playing. It's all based on this expected value math. It's all based on the same math that they figured out that the 3-pointer is better than the 2-pointer. It's all the same. Okay? So, the question I have here for you is, it kind of goes back to the oil thing, which is, if I have let's say I have a stock that has a 50% chance of going up 20% and a 50% chance of doing nothing, what is my expected return from owning that stock in a year? Shane? You have a 50%.
I was
Yeah.
gonna answer that question.
Oh, gotcha. You have a 50% chance of making 20% on a stock. You have a 50% chance that nothing happens in the stock. What is your expected return from owning the stock?
10%.
10%. Right? So what's happening there is you're just doing this. I'm saying what is my probability times my outcome, and I'm summing that over all possible outcomes. So he's saying 50% times 20%, that gives me 10%, plus 50% times 0 return is just 0. So 10% plus 0, that's where you get into a positive 10. So, Shane, you have an answer to this question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You could hold something with a negative, because like going back to oil, it would be up. Like if it goes up when everything else is down, it like protects you from loss.
Yeah.
Why do people buy lottery tickets?
Because they have a dream.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, someone
Oh,
has
but-
to win.
That is it. I mean, that was not the answer I had in mind. It's a very good answer because they would, the prospect of winning a bunch. It's actually called the lottery ticket effect. People oftentimes overpay for things that can pay off in a really large way. That's why some people do that with cryptocurrencies. People do that with really speculative stocks.
Dogecoin.
Doggy coins and all that. Tyler's up.
If you know more about the stock than other people, if you have other information,
Yeah.
so then you could invest into the stock.
But that you don't think that stock has a negative expected return when you do that though, right?
No.
This question is, why would you ever invest in something at a negative expected return? Right? Scott?
Because if it's like a low chance, it's probably not too expensive, so you can just like buy a lot of them and have a higher chance of winning.
Right, even though it would be a negative expected return. I mean, you when you buy lotto tickets, you are incinerating money, right? But but people do it because they're hoping and dreaming, right?
Someone's gonna win.
Someone's going to win, but the total amount that they're going to pay out is way less than the total amount that they took in, right? So it's a bad bet. Think of it this way. Let's say they're going to build. Well, it's illegal.
Just buy a lottery
The state has a monopoly on running a lottery. You can't do it.
Well, then I'm gonna buy a
Wait, they have a
private
monopoly?
island and call it.
Yeah, they're not. You're not allowed to run a lottery.
Is that illegal?
Yeah.
So then, why are we not doing anything?
What's that?
If monopolies are illegal,
What?
is that?
No, I'm saying that only the government is allowed to have a lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
then
not allowed to.
taking over the market.
Yeah, you're not. They have a monopoly on it, but the government is a legal monopoly for them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a legal monopoly. They're allowed to do it. You're not.
So it's just like a scheme to like increase taxes.
Google's a monopoly.
No, it's a way to raise money so that
I
I
wrote
guess
an
you
entire essay on
don't have
this
to pay
by
as much
myself.
taxes actually, right? Because they're making money on every lottery, right?
I
Okay, we're gonna play a game. So
Dad, is PG&E a monopoly?
Google is.
locally it is. Yeah, you can't get your power from anywhere else.
Google is.
Okay. All right.
Yo, so
Now
there
we
you
get
go.
now we get to practice this. All right. We're in a world. There's only two stocks. There's only two stocks: sun and rain. Okay.
Nueve.
Sun sells sunblock. Okay. In a sunny year, sun makes 40% return. In a rainy year, sun loses 30%. Okay. Rain sells umbrellas. In a sunny year, it's not nearly as volatile a stock, but in a sunny year it loses 10%. In a rainy year it makes 8%. Does everybody understand that the expected return of sun is 5% per year? Yeah? Okay, half the time it makes 40, half the time it loses 30, half of 40 is 20, minus half of 30, which is 15. In a typical year, you would expect to make 5% on sun. In rain, your typical year, you expect to lose 1%, right? You can think of it as like 1 year I lose 10, 1 year I make 8. If I keep doing that, on average, I'm losing 1% a year, right? Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We don't know if it's going to be sunny or rainy each year. So what you have to do is you have to construct a portfolio where you tell me. Everybody have their. What we'll do is pass me. What you are going to do. You're going to pass on. All you're going to do is write down on your paper. Does anybody not have a slip? Okay. All right. Take one. Right. Just say how much you're going to put in sun, and then obviously rain is going to be 1 minus that, right? Just say what you're going to put in sun. How much you want to put in sun.
I only made like one piece of sunblock though.
What's that?
No, you can run out of sunblock. You can't run out of umbrellas.
So just to be clear, if you put 25% of your money in sun, then you're putting 75% of your money in rain. Okay, just to be clear on how this works.
May I
If you
have
put
a pencil?
if you put 100 in sun, you're putting 0 in rain. If you put 10 in sun, you're putting 90 in rain. Just write down how much you put in sun.
How do you calculate like the expected return, like where you got
You don't know what it is.
Oh yeah. So half the time,
Exactly. You gotta give me 20%.
50% of the time you make plus 40.
Of your portfolio.
Okay, so 0.5 times plus 40 is 20%. Yeah. Plus all of that, plus 50% of the time you lose 30. So 50% of negative 30 is negative 15.
Wait,
So
is
plus 20 minus 15.
Is there a way to split them so that you always make money? Because I'm trying to calculate that.
do 30 is too much. You lose money.
Do you need a pencil?
In a rainy year.
Oh yeah. Oh, here I got.
I need my pencil. Wait, 20.
Well,
so
if I'm just putting it all in stock,
You do that. Any strategy you want to take is okay.
But if they already invest, that's how it works.
Because I make money every day.
Any strategy you take is fine. We're gonna-
$800 in rain and $200 in sun.
So
Because I would make money in the sun.
Is everybody-
and also make money in the rain.
is everybody written down? Everybody written down what they
I
have?
hedged my bets and I made it so in a
Okay.
rainy year.
All right.
I would
Are you just making
lose
less
money. I would lose money for summer.
All right. You all wrote it down, yep.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna go around the room. Chase.
I think I win this.
Chase, how much did you put in sun?
90%.
90.
Guys.
You were dumb.
Okay. Liam, how much in sun? What'd you write down?
100% in sun.
Okay. Kian,
I also did 100.
100. Ezra, 60. 60. Isaac, 70. Tyler,
20.
What?
Daniel,
40.
He makes money.
I make money every day.
Zach,
I'm hedging my bets. No, I'm hedging my bets.
Sky,
I'm hedging my bets so in a rainy year, I would still make money.
Hunter,
And in a sunny year, I would
100?
make money. For the sun.
62 words per minute. That's a lot.
110%.
So I have the highest.
100.
Otto.
Highest value. And I
75.
would make money.
You seem so low now.
Everybody covered?
Take a risk.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I'm not gonna lose. I'm like a benchmark.
What about player
Okay.
15?
All right.
I'm gonna make.
Can we do team?
I'm gonna make
Nope.
money the
All
entire
right.
time.
You're gonna hide your card.
Hopefully.
Hide your card. Hide your card. Hide your card.
I think that's
Oh,
right.
that's right.
Hide your card. Hide your card. Don't look at it yourself. Hide your card.
So, we don't look at it.
Don't look at it. Just hide it.
Red is gonna be sun.
Damn.
And then black is gonna be rainy.
That's me. That's
And I don't care. Because I go up.
Hide your card. Hide your card. Hide your card.
I got the
Hide your
best
card.
card.
Hide your
I'm
card.
so dead ass. I got the best card.
Hey, Chase on.
And you go, and then you
Are we
go,
supposed to look at
you go to.
Wait, we're not supposed to look at it.
Don't look at them.
Okay.
Oh,
Nice
shoot.
one, Chase.
Dang it, dude. Wait, so
Okay.
can you tell me if I make money every time? With 20.
What?
All right. Everybody got a card?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go
Oh,
back.
it's a slush call.
Wait, I wasn't supposed to look at my card.
No. Alright.
Okay. Don't look at your cards. We're gonna go one at a time. Red is sun. Otto, what do you got? Black. Okay.
Oh man.
So you can by the way you can follow along. This knows all of your portfolios, right? It knows all your splits, how much you put in sun, how much you put in rain. Okay.
I'm up, baby.
Zach, what do you got?
Bro, are you dead
Black.
on, bro?
Oh yeah, so far we're good.
Hunter.
I got red.
I think I perfected.
Bro, are you dead?
Shane.
I got
Oh
black.
yeah, Hunter.
Sorry, guys, I can't hear him.
I got black.
I'm always up.
Oh, red.
Bro, are you dead on?
Why am I getting down in money?
I'm always up.
Daniel.
I was up. Red.
Tyler.
Oh, bang, bang, we got
Rain.
a ton.
Rain.
Oh, he's fried.
Oh.
Dude, I'm still up.
Isaac.
I'm still up.
Black.
Well, you guys go down.
Ezra.
I go up. I go up.
Oh, y'all, let's go.
I stay
Ian.
in the lead,
Oh,
bro.
no.
I
What
stay benchmark the entire time.
Oh, no.
Red.
Wait, what am I? What number am I?
Liam.
I got red.
You guys are getting. I is
Chase.
Yes.
Red.
Yes.
Yeah, I is 8.
That's good. That's fine.
Okay, and then
Boom!
hang
978!
on. So I gotta randomize
Dude, I
this.
have smart strat. Shoot, I told you guys. I did the math.
You didn't win, Tyler. Some other kid won.
No, I
I
didn't win,
won.
but I
Oh,
always
I did better than you, Tyler.
No matter what,
I
I
think
did
this guy is better than you.
I know.
Yeah,
60 is the best. But no matter what.
Okay, but if
Yes,
you run
he
it
did
in,
the best.
you're not gonna
61.
win, bro.
Oh
I'm gonna roll.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Think about it.
I don't know.
What's that?
Okay, I'm gonna roll out the rest of them because we gotta go through all of them.
Sun
So,
could go bankrupt.
all right, if it's a 4, 5, or 6, it'll be Sun. Okay.
What does it say?
That's a 4, so Sun.
Okay. Oh, great. To be continued.
Sun again.
Yes.
Let's go.
Sun again.
Yes.
I know, but I don't know.
190.
Sun again.
Guys, what?
Like,
Try somewhere different.
No.
That's a rain.
Under rain.
Yay.
I'm not understanding that at all.
Rain.
No, we need sun.
No.
I never go down, so it doesn't matter. Say
Rain again.
Doesn't
No.
Oh, the 4 is
Doesn't
rain.
matter. Doesn't
Rain
matter.
again. So the last 2 are rain.
Doesn't matter.
We take it.
Bro, bro.
Boom.
Give me another
Wait, did I still win?
Hey.
Wait, who won?
Freaking package rules.
Wait.
I'm gambling.
Hold on.
60 still won.
How much money did I get?
60.
Oh yeah.
I won money.
All right, so the numbers only go up to through 12. Right? All right, so
Made 248. Let's go, Sky.
So who-
Oh yeah.
I did it, guys.
so who won?
Me and Sky.
Wait, I didn't even
I
know
did
what
mine.
it is.
It says Chase, the first one.
Doesn't matter.
Wait,
You're the first
I lost
column.
0 money every single
You
year.
made $41. I made
I
$200.
lost 0 money
I made
every year.
$200. I got $1.
I know, but
So you made, so all the way at the bottom, you finished with 964.
Bro.
No, so who ended up with the most? Zach and Sky?
No,
Yeah.
Daniel.
And
No.
And Ezra. Zach, Sky, and
No,
Ezra.
Daniel got 1.
I got,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I made money every year.
And how you make money every year.
yeah, but
Okay.
he's at 1,040.
First of all,
I benchmark.
that's right. But you also, that's right. So you knew right from the beginning that if you basically split your money, you will make money every year, right?
Yeah.
Because remember, the expected returns were 5% and -1%. So that's if you put an even amount in both of them, right? What is your expected return in a given year?
0.
No, it's not.
Plus 1.
It's 2. Right? It's gonna be the midpoint of the +5 and the -1.
Yeah.
Because you're putting if you go 50-50.
in player 13.
wait, if we ran this for like 1,000 years, would the people who put in 100% win?
You will end up with if you no you won't. I don't.
I'm very.
Who would win?
Yeah, that's why. This is why it's like so. It's super weird to look at this, right?
In 1,000 years, who would win?
You. Sorry, you
Wait, no,
would.
yeah, you would always.
You would.
Think so.
Sorry. If you ran it for 1,000 years, yes, the higher expected return would win over the 1,000 years.
But the only thing is, you won't be alive in 1,000 years.
Yeah. So I just want to see the percentage of the people who won. Yeah, they were pretty balanced, right?
Oh yeah.
They were pretty.
Yeah, can you see what happens if you
So first of all, how many suns and how many rains were there?
I'm not counting it.
You're not doing that.
I'll eat 30.
I went up 41, meaning that.
There were 20 in all.
Like
Yeah,
10
there's-
rains, and 17
There's 20 in all. So
wait, 10 rains, 10 suns.
it ended up being even, right? It ended up being even. So
So 50-50 would have won.
so it came out 50-50. So here's the kind of a. So this tab is called answer key. It's kind of an interesting outcome, right? Because it shows you for some, if you put all your money in sun, right? You can see that what happens if there was 12 sun and 8 rain, right? That's like kind of, you can see the different mixes, but look what's happening. Like this is the region. right here, where it's about split between the sun and the rain. This would be an extremely strange outcome, right? Where it rained this much, and this would be an extremely strange outcome where it was that sunny. But this area right here is about where it's an even number of suns and rains, right? The point here is that I think Tyler made the best point, is that you basically can see why you might own an asset that has a negative potential return, because if it zigs when everything else zags, kind of like the oil example, right? You will make more money steadily. So if so the diversified way of investing will keep you growing your money all the time without ever really having those really nasty like, if you remember that thing, if you lose half your money, what return do you need to get back to even? 100%, right? It's very, very asymmetrical, right? That when you lose money, you have to make so much money. If you lose 75% of your money, you need to make how much to get back to even?
400, 300.
Yeah, 300%. You have to make 300% to get back to even, right? So diversification helps you from basically never losing a giant chunk of your money, right? And as long as you don't lose a giant chunk of your money, it's pretty easy to grow it over the years, right? So that was the game, and then so I think the people that were 100% sun, what did you end up with? 817, is that right?
I was 9% sun. I got like 960.
Yeah. The people that were in the better investment in it, we got about what we expected out of the game, like half winning, half losing, like half sun, half rain. The people that put all their money in the better investment did worse in what was a pretty typical outcome, right? Than if you had just diversified. This should basically kind of make your head hurt, because this is very, very strange. It's most people do not like understand this concept. They're like, how can it be that if I put all my money not in, like if I just put my money in the best thing, I should end up better? But you just saw from a very simple example how it can be not, how that doesn't have to be true at all, right? So that's kind of, I just wanted to demonstrate the point, because it's kind of hard to ever see that by just having somebody tell it to you without experiencing it. And that's all the citations. But that is pretty much, that's today's lesson. Is there any questions? You guys think you have a better idea maybe about thinking about the risk of certain kinds of gambles?
Yeah, diversity is like the good way.
Biodiversity.
Biodiversity is a way to help you not lose a lot of money. But remember the example where if the goal, like for example, if I told you, let's say, you know, you have $1,000, and I told you that somebody is going to take all your possessions if you don't give them. This is a weird example. But like if you didn't give them $2,000 in a week, right, or in a day, or in an hour, right? If you want to stop them from taking all your possessions, and presumably they're worth more than $1,000, you pretty much have to do something very, very risky, right, to be able to stop this from happening. So you would not want to diversify in that example, right? You have to do something very risky. So, you know, you might have to go to a roulette wheel and bet it all on black, right? Because you need a way to double your money very, very quickly. And diversification will not help you double your money quickly, right? So how you take risk depends on the goal, right? So that's kind of the point. Alright, so Alright, just no other questions?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll turn the camera